he finally pulls up to his house, and she's pounding on the trunk, and the guy opens it up and goes, "What the hell? What do you do, huh?" And, at that point, you just say, "I'm a Scientologist." And then people go, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." That happens so often.
Oh, my God, man.
You get to that point where you just can't take it anymore. And so that's the big push.
Is there a common moment, like we'll talk, I'm sure, about a lot of these people over the years who have disaffected from Scientology. We've already mentioned some. But in doing an autopsy of that, with all these different people who had their own different experiences leading them eventually out of the church, do they all talk about some sort of crowning moment where they cross the Rubicon and suddenly believe? And is it similar for all these people?
Usually it's because some pressure is put on you that makes you go, "Wait a minute, this isn't fair." It could be that you're sent to the RPF, the Rehabilitation Project Force. You could get sent to the RPF for something as little as making a joke about Scientology or saying something about L. Ron Hubbard that they didn't like. The RPF is where you work half the day in hard labor, and then the other half of the day you're studying L. Ron Hubbard's writings. And you're taken away from your family members. If you're husband or wife, you'll be separated. You can't talk to anyone unless talked to first. And people can be on the RPF for months or years. And that was the case for like Mike Rinder. And you come to a breaking point at some point where you just say, "This is insane. I gotta get out of here." Or it can be that your relationship is ruined if you start to have doubts and your partner writes up a knowledge report and sends it into the Scientology officials and saying, "My husband just said this." That gets him in trouble and puts him on the RPF. People's marriages are split up if they're both members of the Sea Org, and David Miscavige is upset with somebody. He'll ship, one of the couple, over to Australia or some other far distant land, and they'll be separated for years.
Are there people, though, in those situations who have said "fuck you" and just left, though?
Yeah.
And then nothing happens to them?
Eventually, yeah.
Eventually.
Once this hardship is to a point where they just can't take it anymore, they'll try to escape, as many people have. Leah Remini's assistant now, she was a casting director for Scientology videos and worked up at their desert compound in Hemet, California. She would be hiring actors who were non-Scientologists, and they would come and do these little orientation type of videos because they have their film studio there in the desert compound.
They would let non-Scientologists do that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it used to be pretty much all Scientologists, but the problem there is when they fled Scientology, then they have to go and reshoot it. So if you get some WOG actors who are just coming in and doing a script about evil psychs or whatever, they're just happy to get a job and be paid a little bit of money for, these are not high caliber actors for the most part.
Yeah. Something tells me they're not winning Oscars.
Yeah. So anyway, this woman who's the casting director had to flee. And there was a shoot one day, and she crawled into the trunk of one of the actors' cars and waited until he drove home to L.A., a 2-hour ride. She's huddled in that trunk all the way back to L.A. He finally pulls up to his house, and she's pounding on the trunk, and the guy opens it up and goes, "What the hell? What do you do, huh?" And, at that point, you just say, "I'm a Scientologist." And then people go, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." That happens so often.
Oh my God, man.
You get to that point where you just can't take it anymore, and those folks who flee, they can actually be chased across country. One of the guys I interviewed was the head of security at that desert compound. And he talked about how he developed these blow drills. When you leave Scientology without permission, they say you've blown. And then they now have this set situation where they know every Sea Org member, they know their families and friends, they have the contact information for everybody, they know where these people live. So if somebody flees, they go, well, here's places he may be going, and they'll send Scientologists across the country to kind of sweep the place and find them and drag them back.
Like forcibly.
Forcibly, well, yeah, they'll convince them it's in their best interest. You know, you
That's
want to, you
kidnapping
want to,
across
you don't
state
want to lose
lines.
your friends with. Well, you know, they convince them. It's not often that they throw them in a van and lock them in there and tie them up. But they, you know, this is all the prison of the mind that you've got going on there.
Okay.
If they can convince you that you have to come back and route out properly, you can't just blow because they're worried you might go to the press, you might say horrible things about them. So they grill you with the e-meter, and they're you know, finding out, have you ever had a negative thought about Hubbard? Have you ever had a negative thought about David Miscavige? What have you done to harm Scientology?
Can you explain the e-meter to people?
The
so they
e-meter is
understand
this
that?
little lie detector type of device. You hold on to two metal cans. They're originally soup cans. They run a little electric current through you. And on the meter itself, there's a little needle that moves. And so as you're talking, the needle will, you know, move back and forth. And the professional auditors who, you know, study this machine, they can tell when you're lying. They can tell when there's something wrong.
And they won't. I read that they won't update this technology because it was crafted by the hand of Hubbard.
Well,
And
it gets updated in many ways.
But they won't change. Like they won't say that this tech. Like we had years ago, we had the landline phone, right?
Yeah.
Well, now we have iPhones. It's still a phone,
Right.
but it's a huge upgrade. Like they don't do that. They stay with the landline. They just change the tech.
There are there's yes and no. The e-meters essentially still work the same way. It's an electric galvanometer. It's just measuring your skin moisture, whatever. But they think, it's a key to your eternal mind, and we know what you're thinking.
Right.
But that, you know, Scientologists believe that it will, you know, point out when they're not being truthful, and that can get them in a lot of trouble. And so that's why people put the blinders on when you're in Scientology. You don't want something negative to pop up on the meter that's going to cause you nothing but trouble and nothing but money coming out of your pockets if you're a public member. So you force yourself to not have a negative thought. You put those blinders on yourself and refuse to read anything negative about Scientology. Watch any program that it might be an expose. You wouldn't think of
They
watching
rewire
that.
your brain. Yeah.
Yeah. So at any rate,
When I picture these people you talk about, though, like when they go across state lines to go tell someone it's in their best interest to come back.
yeah.
I don't know if this is a good way to picture it, but I just can't help but doing it. I picture all the actors inside the world of the Truman Show, where they're like, Truman, no, you need to go back there.
Yeah.
You know, and they all know, like,
Yeah, it's very
this
much
whole
like
joke is on him. But, you know, like that thing on their face that's so fake, like, it's almost like, robot turn into it. That's how I picture these people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, you're taking on the valence of L. Ron Hubbard. You're behaving exactly the way he wants a Scientologist to behave. You know, you find yourself falling into that because you're surrounded by people who buy into it all, and all are behaving that way, and so you fit in. You know. It's going to cause you nothing but trouble if you don't fit in, and you want to be able to control matter, energy, space, and time at the end of this. So you put up with a lot of misery because you know it's going to be incredible when you are able to control matter, energy, space, and time. So it's bizarre, but there you go.
Do they ever recruit people who are active practitioners of another religion?
Oh, sure. They'll tell
And do
you.
they convert them?
Well, they'll tell you that it's completely compatible with any other religion.
What?
That is the party line. Sure, you can be a Christian and a Scientologist. You can be Jewish and a Scientologist. That's completely compatible. Of course, it's not.
No.
And believe me, I'm not coming here from a faith perspective. I just think this is just morally bankrupt, as everything is in Scientology. If you are saying, well, it's completely compatible with Christianity, and then you find out L. Ron Hubbard said there was no Christ, there's an audio tape on that. You can pull that up online. L. Ron Hubbard, there was no Christ. He says that some 2,000 years ago, some maniacs stumbled upon part of L. Ron Hubbard's tech, R6, and misinterpreted it. The man on the cross is every man.
Oh, no.
So how you say that that's compatible with Christianity, I don't know.
All right, here we go. We have the video. Let me turn this on. I say this every time. I got to have you logged into mine, Alessi, so that you can have here we go.
Every man has been shown to have been crucified, so don't think that it's an accident that this crucifixion, they found out that this applied. Somebody, somewhere on this planet, back about 600 BC, found some pieces of R6. And I don't know how they found it, either by watching Mad Men or something, but since that time they have used it, and it became what is known as Christianity. The man on the cross. There was no Christ.
There you go.
But the man on the cross is shown as every man. So, of course, each person seeing a crucified man has an immediate feeling of sympathy for this man. Therefore, you get many PCs who says they are Christ. Now, there's two reasons for that. One is the Roman Empire was prone to crucify people. So a person can have been crucified. But in R6, he is shown as crucified.
Wow.
Now, is that compatible with Christianity?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so. But they don't hesitate to say, "Oh yeah, sure." But what they really mean is, your wallet is compatible with Scientology. So, sure, it's compatible. Come on, pay for another course.
The average Scientologist, how much? I don't know if you're gonna know the answer to this, but I think about like taxes, right? You pay in a tax bracket or whatever. Mm-hmm. So depending on how much income you make, that's the amount of money you then owe the government, but it's based on a percentage. Yeah. So on a percentage basis, you think like Scientologists are given 20% of their income every year to Scientology?
Well, it's not like that. It's not like the Mormon church where you're tithing 10%, I think. They'll bleed you dry for every cent they can. Mm. And you may not have money. Like my friend who invited me to the Celebrity Center, she had no money. So we were looking at the grade chart. They have all of the courses you can take listed there from, the communication course up to OT8. And I said, where are you on the bridge? The bridge to total freedom is what this is called. And she pointed way down at the bottom. So that's it? You've been in it for like 20 years and you're down there?
God,
she didn't have the money. And she didn't want to join the Sea Org to work 17 hours a day in order to get some free courses. But I mean, you can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more. It used to be, and this was a couple of decades ago when I first started looking into this, that in order to reach OT3, where you find out about Xenu blowing up in a volcano, that would cost $360,000.
$360,000.
Yeah, to get up to that level, yeah, and it's well more than that now, I'm sure.
We got a long way to go, Leslie.
Yeah. Like actor Jason Begay, I sat down and did an interview with him back in 2008. That's still more people watch that video on my channel than anything else. Every day there's people who comment on that video and how much they appreciate him having talked about this. He joined, and they got $1 million out of him in 1 year. And the
How
thing
did
is,
they do this?
well, by explaining to him how much progress he's going to make. And, if you've got
This much.
yeah, if you've got the money, they have to be happy to sell you all the bridge to begin with. And you have any family member, you should buy it for your wife too. You should buy it for whoever you. There are Scientologists who borrow the money for people who don't have money, so they can buy the bridge, and then those people have to pay back the Scientologist who lent them the money. So the people who have money are even paying for other people's bridges.
Damn.
It's a remarkable Ponzi scheme that they have.
Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.